Hi, I am annoyed because my partner over here is annoying me for God knows how bloody long. And finally, we've managed to start the recording for the day. And we're very excited because this is a movie that is very special to the both of us. And we really hope that you like it too. And if you have partners and friends who are annoying, just like mine, I think you will relate heavily with this film. This movie, this genius of a movie, is called Hot Fuzz. I'm trying to be sexy while I say Hot Fuzz.
It's hard and it's fuzzy.
Ew. Ew. Um, but yeah, it is hot. It is fuzzy, but in the best possible way. If you've seen the posters of this film, which I'm hoping some people who are listening to us have seen it, you will think it's like a buddy cop film or something of that nature, but it honestly is just something very out of the blue. It's a very surprising film because it's not made to cater to the tropes of buddy cop films. It's actually made to go against it. And because of that, there is a lot of drama, a lot of suspense, a lot of beauty in the cinematography of the movie itself. And I always love to talk about my protagonists, but in this movie, I can genuinely say without an iota of doubt that there is um there is not much to say about the protagonist other than the fact that he's a stickler for rules. And he's a very big stickler for the rules. Like he's not a badass, rule bending, crazy, out of order kind of guy. He's just this wonderful, disciplined cop who, uh, is very fair and very just and cares deeply about his job. And that is actually the premise of the film. Like he gets into trouble for doing his job well. And when this movie was first introduced to me, I think Sank, you recommended this how many years ago? A decade ago to me?
Yeah, about that
Could
time. Yeah.
could be a decade ago. And I have not stopped raving about this movie since. So like I have always somebody says, "Oh, I really want to watch like a good fun film, like what Hot Fuzz." But isn't that like a Hot Fuzz? But isn't that like a bit too cerebral? Hot Fuzz, like I don't care. It's just such a good bloody film. And I don't know, Sank, you tell me, you've been following the trilogy of the director, right?
Yep. So it's called the Cornetto trilogy, where the first movie was Shaun of the Dead. Great movie. Second one was Hot Fuzz, and the third one is called The World's End. The reason why they're called a trilogy is because not because there's any story that's common between the three or there are any characters that are overlapping or anything of that sort. The only thing that's common between the three is that in all three movies there are characters who are having a cornetto ice cream or sharing a cornetto ice cream or something, or they are at least peeling cornettos off or something of that sort. That's the only reason why it's called cornetto trilogy. And I think maybe they are spiritually connected is because of the way they are shot and the way the comedy is and everything, right? So I just want to start off just by saying that I don't care, but this is my favorite action comedy of all time. I know action comedies have been going around since the start of maybe like it's 100-year thing, whatever, but the best action comedy has come out in 2007 and it's called Hot Fuzz. Everything that it is referencing, it's doing it better, and everything that has come after it has been referencing Hot Fuzz, be it something like 21 Jump Street or Nice Guys or something that we spoke last week, which was Bullet Train. Everything that has come, any action comedy that you see these days is heavily influenced from it. At least the way that those action comedies are shot is heavily referencing it. Because I think, and that is the first thing that I want to talk about the movie, is that is the way the editing takes place here. Like Edgar Wright showed you why quick editing is just the way to do action comedies. You don't have to explain everything. Like, I just want to give an example, a brilliant example in the movie that happens, which is one of the funniest scenes ever to be put on film, where you have this cop that you spoke about, Nicholas Angel, who is sort of a city cop, and it's against his will that he's in that village because he wanted to be posted in a city full, like, where he could deal with more challenging stuff. Instead, he's put here where he's new to the station, and all the other cops are either making fun of him. There are good cops, there are bad cops, but he's somewhat getting bullied. He's homesick and everything, so he's angry. And there's a scene where he's angry and he gets a call about this guy telling him that his swan got lost. Is it a swan or a duck?
It's a swan. It's a swan for sure.
Yeah, it's a swan, right? And you see the frustration on his face, like, I'm a city cop. I was busting up drug rackets, and here
Yeah.
taking these type of calls. So he asks him, so what's your name? And he's like, my name is Peter Ian Staker. So P.I. Staker. Piss Staker, yeah? Give me a break. And in the next shot, he's actually bowed down in front of Mr. Staker, and he's like, okay, Mr. Staker. Yeah, okay, all right, Mr. Staker. Like, you instantly know he's regretting making fun of his name. This is what I mean. This is what I mean, how quick editing works. How with good editing, you get one laugh. With great editing, you get the same joke, you get the laugh, but tenfolds. And that is what Edgar Wright did for me, man. Like, I know there are filmmakers out there who don't want to part with whatever that they've shot, whatever that they've created. But Edgar Wright is a filmmaker for me who will shoot everything with every angle and everything, but he knows how to be concise when he's editing. So that's something that I would one day want to use in whatever that I create.
I think what we can take best from this film, I mean, at Cremechiss, we revere some really great storytelling, and we care about character arcs and storyline build-ups, and we care very deeply about that stuff. It doesn't just have to be necessarily about foreshadowing and stuff like that. It doesn't have to be cerebral like Memento, but it has to be something that while you're watching the movie, it keeps you at the edge of your seat, it keeps you guessing, it keeps you wondering, it keeps you interested not only in the hero, but in everything that is happening around the hero. And I think that is the beauty of this film, where the protagonist is actually a boring person. He's not interesting. This is not
Yeah.
Die Hard. This is an extremely, non-badass kind of a character. uh, but once you watch this movie, once you finish this movie and you reach the climax, you very quickly realize why we are raving about this film, like why we care about this film. Because the Swan episode is one of the many things that are, like, the small town issues, or the village issues that come up to this cop who has dealt with hardened criminals, and it feels very much beneath. So why before he gets transferred to this place, you actually see him having this conversation with his boss, where he goes, "So you're sending me away? Can I speak to the higher up officer?" And say, "You want to talk to my boss?" Say, "Yes, I do." And within 2 seconds, his boss like ends up in the office, and then he says the same thing: "We're transferring you to a village because we can, and you're making all of us look bad." So can I talk to your boss? And say, you want to talk to my boss, huh? And then the, the next boss, and there are these three men who are clearly corrupt officers, and they are kind of, talking down to this hero of ours who's just trying to do his job. And if you have been in the workforce, if you work the 9 to 5, like Sank and I do, you will realize very quickly that this story is actually very relatable. It is about dealing with with your day-to-day life, where you don't really have much control over what's happening. And that's the beauty of the storyline, where a person doesn't come charging in guns blazing and changes the storyline. No, this is about a person who has to deal with the circumstances, has to accept it for what it is, and keep going. And the more you look at the village, the more disgruntled you'll get as an audience, because, like, oh my God, but he was just doing his job. He deserves a promotion. How dare they do this to him? Like, you will feel sympathy for this character, and you don't expect that to happen for the hero, right? The hero doesn't get sympathy, the hero gets applause. But to see the comical timing of the story, where you see, like, oh my God, this guy is screwed, like nothing good is going to come of this, because he notices, like, even the small crimes, he notices that, and he's a stickler for it, and he'll, put maybe teenagers in jail for underage drinking. And the precinct immediately says, we don't do that because it's not that big a deal. And this guy is like internally screaming because he wants to do something, and he's so overqualified for this job, where when he walks into the police station, even the tour of the police station is very underwhelming, because he can see like a lot of violations. He can see people just sitting over there having tea and eating cake, and like just not concerned with like actually doing anything crime wise. And the 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 setup of the story, of course, escalates, because it turns out this very sleepy village is not that sleepy. Some very gruesome, beautifully orchestrated violent scenes happen, which is not like Quentin Tarantino violence, but it is hot fuzz violence. And I can tell you, with like complete dedication to this statement, you will not see hot fuzz violence anywhere else. It
Yeah,
is
yeah.
signature to Hot Fuzz. Like,
That's become his trademark.
mhm.
You mentioned about the character being very disciplined and disciplinary, right? So I think that's the reason for that is that the movie is actually critiquing a lot of action movies where the protagonists are trigger happy. There's a theme here about the greater good, right? The thing that the villagers are doing is for the greater good. So in a way, it's critiquing the action movies that we see where the protagonists are like that, and it's saying that everything doesn't, even if it's for the greater good, it might be the for the greater good for you, but it might not be for the law. And that's why the character needed to be that boring to tell us that this is,
Yeah,
even though it's exciting and whatever, it's even though it's, I have to do this because it's not okay.
yeah, yeah. I mean, you'll see a lot of action films where, like these really crazy ass stunts happen, and buildings go up in flames and cars go flying. And I don't know what age of audience we are talking to right now, but if you are like us on the other half of, like what I consider, like the age spectrum, where you're now officially seeing like repercussions for your actions, then you'll start thinking, who's paying for those cars? Who is going to, like, now have like, those people like taken care of, who lost their homes in that stupid ass fire that this protagonist has caused? And when you see this movie, you see that the idea of collateral damage is actually looked down upon, like Sang just mentioned. Like, it's not considered like, oh, I was trying to like do this. Like, this is like, the grander thing, the greater than life things. Like, yeah, but it's not right, whatever it is that you're doing. And it trails corruption in, these high power workplaces in a way that is not, oh, this is a lecture on corruption. This is why corruption is wrong. It's not about that. It's saying that corruption exists, and there are some things you can step over and look the other way, and then there are some things you just can't, because it is a blatant abuse of power. And that's why this movie, one, it was way ahead of its time. We are talking about 2007, right? So we are talking
Yeah.
about the call out of corruption in a place of power, in a time where there was like a lot of discussion about it, but it was never portrayed in a cop film, especially where, cops going against cops. Like, that never happens, ever. And you also get to see that the few good cops that are trying to do their job, they're ultimately going to get stomped on by people who are in higher positions of power than them. So it doesn't matter how, how precise this particular hero is. A rotten tree is a rotten tree, and a lot of people I've seen like talking about this, where they say that, oh, like we need to like fix the systems. You can't fix the system if the roots are rotting. And that's kind of what this premise is. Imagine three people higher up this protagonist want him gone because he makes them look bad. He makes people
Hmm.
in power look bad. And if that is not exciting enough for you to watch, if you have been following the news closely, you'll realize that there is a lot of stuff that goes, hidden, that's not discussed, that is not openly inquired about with. And this movie openly addresses that with no shame. And it doesn't try to like paint one good and one bad. It basically says that this is the story, this is what was happening, somebody with a brain needed to address it, and they did. And that's where the story starts escalating, which I just, ooh, I love this movie so much. And I can't stress enough why it is so important that anyone who hasn't watched it should watch it. And anyone who's already watched it, maybe when it first came out, this is a great time to rewatch this film and use this film as a premise for a lot of real world events that are occurring right now, which will like, I won't go into it, but it'll make so much sense why this movie is so ahead of its time.
Yeah, and there's even a James Bond in it. Why do you need any other reason? I was
Absolutely.
like, and the way they've shown the bureaucracy and everything, like it is important, but they've also not glorified it, right? Like, yes, whatever Nicholas Angel is doing, it's the good thing, but it's also so much boring.
Yeah.
With that paperwork trope that they do every time. Every time there's a crime that happens, someone gets murdered or whatever,
Yeah.
there's so much paperwork which we don't see in any of these action movies, where like there's like $1 million worth of collateral damage that happens.
Yeah.
But again the quick editing comes here, where you see so much paperwork that the characters do.
Yeah.
It's hilarious from start to finish. I don't have any, like, it's like, if you haven't seen the movie, then obviously uh thanks for watching this video. But even if you've seen this movie, you'll enjoy this video anyway, because this is not as much of a recommendation as it is just celebrating this movie.
Yeah, this is basically two fans like losing their shit over Hot Fuzz. Like that's what this is. Because I think we have also, as fans of this film, we've always returned back to this movie whenever an action tropey film came out. I think the one time we went really deep into comparing it with something else was Brooklyn 99. So Brooklyn 99
Hmm.
spoke very heavily about paperwork. And so, yeah, it's not just cool cop, die hard shit, man. You have to go back, you have to do paperwork. You're answerable to a boss who's probably a stickler for the rules. Like, I always think Captain Holt and Nicholas Angel are actually the same person. because,
Oh yeah,
right?
that could be. They
Because
might be brothers in something.
in
Brothers or
some,
something.
like, yeah, they're like related or something in some way, because there is so much overlap between those two characters. And again, not to say that, oh, these characters are such stickler for rules, so it's like their process is boring. No, their process is bloody interesting, because with the smart editing, of course, but the way they reach conclusions is actually amazing. So in a lot of ways, when the plot twist actually hits the storyline, you realize why being a stickler to the rules is actually interesting, because you see a person who picks up on details, picks up on events, because he understands the importance of documenting shit. So when a person looks at things with the idea of, okay, I have to document this for later, I have to save this for later, when you watch them solve a crime or solve a story, that's when you realize, like, oh, this isn't just about good cop, corrupt cop. This isn't about that. This is about a person who notes everything down, who observes everything, and because he observes everything, logistically, he sees things going wrong in the little village that don't make any sense to him. And when he calls it out, as an audience, you will also kind of feel dumb. It's like, yeah, why, why, why didn't we catch that? Because it is so obviously there, right? Like it's so clear out in the open. It's not like, twisty, turny, a layered way, like very intellectual way of like talking about the story. No, it's literally bluntly out there. It's freaking hilarious. And and actually I didn't even realize this before we started recording. If you have watched Brooklyn 99 and if you adore Captain Holt the way we do, you will love Hot Fuzz. Hot Fuzz is like custom made for you. Like Brooklyn 99 characters and the range of the characters in Hot Fuzz, like you will actually see the spectrum exists. There are the do-goods, there are the smart mouths, and then there's a person who's just clueless, like his partner is like this clueless guy who's the son of the guy in charge. And in one of the scenes, he gets arrested. Our hero has no idea that this guy is also a cop. So it's like he's so like confused. He's like, "You're a cop. Why are you behaving like this?" Because no one's going to hold him accountable. That's the beauty of that story. That there is a person who can abuse his power, who chooses not to, and he tries to hold people accountable, not the civilians, but the people who are in power. So I don't know. We can talk a lot about this, but unfortunately we're going to spoil things, and we really really want you to enjoy it if you've already, like not watched it. Maybe we can talk a bit about our other videos as well. We really appreciate your support. We adore everyone who has been liking and sharing, all our new subscribers. Like this is so awesome because we are really looking forward to creating a community of people who enjoy stories from anywhere in the world. And we are trying to not keep things in a particular niche right now. But I think if you see our channel, you'll see a lot of like action movie discussions, but you'll see a lot of thrillers, you'll see a lot of underrated cinema, and we're trying to expand on that. But we need you guys to give us feedback because there is so much content, but we really don't know what we should talk about. So leave us some comments, leave us some, maybe some uh, recommendations that you've watched or you want to watch and you want us to check it out for you, because we can do that. We can watch a bad movie and let you know that it was bad, or we can watch a great movie and let you know that it was great. But you need to maybe give us some direction, guys, because we truly adore all the support you're giving us.
Yeah, please keep watching because we're still free. We aren't monetized, so you will never see ads.
Yeah, you'll never see ads, you'll never see unnecessary interruptions. Well, for now, unless one of y'all want to like sponsors and stuff like that, or I don't know, we
Yeah.
are open, we are open to
So we
ideas.
have donation links as well. So you might want to
Yes, please click
also
the
check that out.
donate. But this is signing off. This is Cremechiss. We are excited to bring you a new video every week, so look out for that as well. And we'll see you soon. We love you.
Love you. Bye.